Hello everybody and welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. Now, I'm currently checking out Panasonic's latest LZ1000 4K OLED TV, and I've actually been using it for the past 1 week, and the experience was actually nothing short of spectacular. But let me explain to you in today's video with my layman terms and not getting too technical. Now, before we begin talking about all that, I want to just pause for a second here and talk a bit about OLED displays. We are actually very familiar with OLED displays because we have it on our phones, we have it on our smartwatches, like this, and also on our tablets. But when it comes to TVs, I realized that a lot of people out there are actually still using the old-fashioned LCD TV, and the colors from LCDs are obviously not that great. You don't get those really good deep blacks, poor contrast levels, very reflective kind of screens, and the overall TV experience is just not as great as something that you can expect from something like Panasonic's OLED TV. So let's talk a bit about what's so special with this Panasonic LZ1000 and perhaps a couple more things that might actually help you in your next TV purchase decision. Let us begin. Alright, so before I go into the main story here, which is all about its display, let me just talk to you a little bit about the design of the Panasonic LZ1000. Now, I love the fact that it has such a minimalist design that is not just modern, but also blends in nicely into my living room. It comes with super slim bezels all around, allowing me to really focus on the content that it's showing. Now, on to the main part of the TV, guys. It's OLED display. Again, I'm going to try to explain it to you without being too technical. And of course, I know you can't really experience the full TV on my video, but let me try my best to explain to you what it's all about. So as I mentioned earlier, over the past few days, I've actually watched a ton of movies and Netflix shows on this OLED TV, and one thing that really stood out to me was its colors and its true deep blacks. Now, I want to start off first by talking about the colors. Being an OLED panel, the Panasonic LZ1000 was able to show very punchy colors that I personally liked a lot. The entire visual experience was simply amazing, and this is especially so when it comes to watching animated movies, as it usually involves very colorful scenes. I was able to enjoy these shows just as if I was at the cinemas. Alright, so speaking of colors, did you know that the color tuning and all that happening on the Panasonic LZ1000 is actually done by Hollywood colorists? In other words, you'll be able to see brilliant cinematic grade colors right from your living room. Add that together with Netflix adaptive calibrated mode, and what you as a viewer can expect to see is basically the 4K content that you love, but as per the exact quality as it was intended by the director. Now let's move on and talk about those true deep blacks that I mentioned earlier on. What is it all about? Why is it so important? Now, as a tech reviewer, we often see OLED displays in many different kinds of devices. But the question here is, are all OLED panels the same? Well, obviously not. They have different grades of quality, but let's talk about the OLED panel on this Panasonic LZ1000. Now, as someone who always looks for the best in image and video quality, I personally think that one of the most important elements of a good OLED panel is how dark it is able to go. Now, in the case of the Panasonic LZ1000, it is actually able to show extremely dark blacks. That means that instead of seeing a sort of grayish scene on a poorer display panel, you'll be able to see pure blacks on the LZ1000. Now, the benefit from these deep blacks ensure that videos or pictures from your TV shows do not look washed out. So blacks look like true blacks and white looks extremely white. And this ultimately results in a more realistic, true-to-life experience. Having said that, another area that truly impressed me about this LZ1000 is all about the tech that's going on behind the scenes. It's not just the display, but behind that, there's actually a lot of technology going on. So let's start first off with auto brightness. Now, previously on my older TV, I always struggled with the brightness levels because sometimes in the afternoon, when the environment is really bright, the TV is just too dark. And when it comes to nighttime, the TV is just too bright. So what I had to do was dig into the settings and try and fiddle around with those brightness levels. However, with the Panasonic LZ1000, it was a completely different story here. Even on a very hot and sunny afternoon, the bright environment will not affect the visibility of the Panasonic LZ1000. Other than that, with Panasonic's advanced intelligent sensing, the LZ1000 is clever enough to detect the brightness of my living room and then adjust the brightness of the TV itself to ensure that it is sufficiently bright for my visibility without hurting my eyes. Now, this is super important as I do not then have to dig into the brightness settings every time my environment changes. The LZ1000 does it all on its own. Alright, so another really cool tech with the TV here is all about its Auto AI. Now, what Auto AI does is that it allows the Panasonic LZ1000 to be able to detect what genre is being played on your TV. So for instance, let's talk about sports. So what the TV will do here is enhance its colors, increase the presenter volume, or increase atmosphere sound to create a stadium-like experience right from your home. Alright, so having said all that, last but not least, a very important thing here is all about the chipset that's powering the Panasonic LZ1000. Just like smartphones, we have different grades of chipsets that determines whether the smartphone falls into the budget segment, the mid-range, or the flagship. Well, in this case, this Panasonic LZ1000 is definitely sitting at the top. It's definitely a flagship grade processor. So the heart of it all is Panasonic's own self-developed chipset, the HCX Pro AI processor. And in this case, just like your smartphone, a TV's performance is also very much affected by the strength of its processor. You can think of this Panasonic HCX Pro AI processor as a flagship grade processor, one that encompasses years of R&D at Panasonic to deliver all that I've experienced so far. Overall, what I can really conclude about the Panasonic LZ1000 here is that this is definitely a flagship grade TV, something that's sitting at the top of the competition. Alright, so before I end today's video, let me just touch very quickly on the kind of content that you can expect from, the Panasonic LZ1000. Now, the TV itself is running on Panasonic's latest home screen 7.0, and this is where you can access all your favorite content directly from the TV itself. It has the Netflix, YouTube, Amazon TV, Apple TV, everything can be accessed directly from Panasonic's home screen 7.0. Alright guys, so that's pretty much my quick review of the Panasonic LZ1000. If you are in the market, looking for one of the best OLED TVs that money can buy, well, definitely you should check out the Panasonic LZ1000 here. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop your questions down below. And of course, I'll put in a link in the description box if you want to find out, additional information that you might get on the Panasonic LZ1000. Now, with that said, thank you for watching today's video all the way to the end. Don't forget to drop a like and sub to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Do stay safe, everybody. Bye.